"Sup, dweebs?" was the first thing that this griffin had said to Danyel when he had opened the door. He eyed her. "Good day. How may I assist you or help you in any way?" "Well," she strutted right in, bumping right past Danyel, walking in. Danyel knew these kind of people. They tried to show how big and bad they were. Or they just tried to show their dominant side, show their superiority, show that they were more superior. He didn't mind. He enjoyed a good show. I found it rather amusing, to be honest. He looked and said, "So, is there any reason, practically, is there any reason at all why you have chosen to accompany yourself in this home?" "Well, I saw that fancy magic you were spewing about, and I decided why not crash here. I mean, you guys seem a little interesting." Danyel, he had raised an eyebrow behind his helmet and turned to Feather, who shrugged. "And who's the dork?" she said with confidence in her voice. My friend here. His name is Featherhoof. He's a scholar and a gentleman. He knows vast amounts of magic that nearly surpass mine in many ways." "Oh, really? Like what?" "Well, he does have an assortment of different magics that even I myself could not master the abilities of. I find him rather useful, and he is a good companion. He brings good company and very good talk. He is also one I have become quite fond of in the past few days of our journey. He has kept me company as we have walked, and he has kept me well occupied. I have never met a more preferred companion, as many others were in it for the gold or were in it for the journey, to find treasure or fame. Of course, many that had followed me in my path had gotten just that. They had gotten fame, fortune, and glory. But he does not search for any of these. He searches for knowledge. He searches for adventure, which I can come to respect of him. What do you seek, my fair lady?" "A maiden such as yourself, with your confidence and your self-esteem, seems to... I'd say someone such as yourself would seek fame. Or maybe even rich. Maybe you seek riches beyond your wildest imagination. Fame or power. Most likely fame. But what do I know? You make up your own destiny. You do not let others make up yours. I will not judge you for anything. I know the true reason why you are here, fair maiden." Yola said. "And what might that be, dweeb?" "You are here because you wish to accompany us on a journey, to embark with us. Judging from your saddlebags, I believe that you are, well, short on coin. So, out of the instinctiveness of your mind, you have decided to accompany us on a great journey across the lands, which I am more than happy to let you accompany us. I just have a few questions." Well, Whatever makes you think I'm going to join your group, but sure, what are your questions? He looks over and says, Danyel says this. Are those wings simply for show, or do you possess the raw talent or perfected talent of a skilled flyer? She rolls her eyes and says, Yes, Pipsqueak, I possess the almighty abilities of flight. And what do you possess? He smirks and says, underneath his helmet, confidence growing in himself, but he does not allow his pride to overshadow him. I possess very many abilities, but I never doubt anybody else. Many others have abilities far beyond my reach, far beyond my contentment, of course. I mean, who knows? There are adventurers back in the land I hailed from who are of God-like ascent, who are worshipped. Me, myself, I do not look for the life of worship or glory. What skills do you possess? Or talents? Or any assortments that would be very useful to us on our journey? Well, I am rather intimidating as a griffin. He looks over and says, I must say, you sure seem to intimidate those dogs. Look, any other traits or abilities? Well, I have sharp talons and I'm rather strong. Any other assortment of strengths or abilities? I know my way of the land and I have many connections throughout the Griffin region that we'll be passing through. He tapped his foot and said, All right, Miss Gilda, I will allow you to accompany us on this mission, or this adventure, to embark with us on a journey that will foresee us traveling across the many regions of Equestria. However, just know this, I respect you. Not because of your unique character, but for you as a whole. And I expect some form of respect back. Even if you choose not to show me respect, that is okay. I will not hold it against you. She looked and said, Cool. You got any meat in the fridge? I'm starving. Featherhoof, of course, stuck out his tongue and gagged at the very thought, and went back to reading. Danyel walked, laying down his shield and his weapons, staring over at him, staring over at Feather, and said, How's that new spell coming along, Feather? He smiled to himself. I think it's coming pretty well. Well, Feather, I believe that you are more than capable of performing various spells by yourself. Tell me, why did you select the assortment? I selected it because it was useful. Feather had selected a form of magic that dealt with plants, animals, that dealt with understanding multiple languages. It dealt with old culture and history. In case they found any ruins, Feather would come in most useful. So far, he knew the group's advantages and disadvantages at the moment. Mainly knowing the advantages. Feather. He would come in useful because he was interested in history. He knew about the various tombs and other such things. He knew about nature and animals, which could come in handy. And he also knew about poison, how it could affect people, since he had been in medical magic school for about a good 4 years till he dropped. So he knew how to treat wounds. He knew how to treat minor all the way up to traumatizing wounds. Wounds such as breaking a bone or impalement in the stomach or something like that. Anything further than that, and he doesn't know what to do. Gilda. She was good. Her intimidation would definitely be helpful in some areas, but not most. She had connections, no doubt. Judging from her, she probably had a few friends. Maybe even few in high places, who knows? But there is this thing in Gilda. This spark, this drive that Danyel has seen before. Seems like a loyalty, kind of like a blood bond. Once you scratch her back, she'll scratch yours. That kind of thing. Danyel was more than happy to accompany two people to his companionship. Right now he considered Feather the leader of the group. Feather didn't really see it as this. He considered Danyel, because of how he carried himself. However, Danyel saw Feather more as the leader. Simply not just because of how he carried himself, but because of his character, his personality, his intelligence, the way he was in general. Feather was a pacifist, to some extent. He would never look to cause violence, and he'd diffuse it as much as possible. However, when the time comes, he will defend himself. That's why Danyel admires him. Not completely, no. He admires him for other reasons. But he does admire him for that. In fact, he envies him, and even kind of looks up to him in a way. And he respects him. Gilda, he envies her because of how strong she is. She's strong-minded. Once she's focused on something, she'll stay on it, most likely. He doesn't doubt her in the slightest. He looked over at the group. Gilda, luckily, had found some beef jerky. He remembered hearing about something like that. It was just being made in the land of Skyrim, till, of course, the accident. Beef jerky. She was chewing it, and Feather looked visibly sick. Danyel sat in his chair, leaned back, and closed his eyes. Danyel standing in the market, walking about. The others were still inside doing what they were doing. They were still asleep. As he had walked about the various area, he had went to the sheriff's office. Apparently there was a sheriff's office. Just kidding, no. It was a guard's post. He had went there and politely asked the guard, "Excuse me, my fine sir. Do you have, any idea of, well, the direction that we'd be headed since we are going to be passing through the Griffin territory, where we'd have to go, well, the fastest route to Canterlot?" The guard looked at them and smiled. He smiled because this thing wasn't looking for trouble. He was more so very respectful of the law, it seemed. So he'd be more than happy to help him. "Sure, follow me." He brought him inside, pointing at a map, showing him the various locations, saying, "Alright, here, you're going to be headed here. This is where we are right now. If you continue on that path, on the, let's see, northeast side of town, you head up that way. Eventually, here's what you'll come across. You'll come across a path that'll lead west. It's about a good 5-hour walk. Once you head that way, you're going to be walking for a good 2 days, and you're going to be heading into Griffin territory. From there, you're going to keep going, following up, still going west, and you'll head up north. It'll lead you to a main road, or you can take the train, but it costs a pretty penny. Griffins don't take kindly to ponies. Then you'll keep heading down the road. Be careful, because once you get past that, you'll be heading into Changeling territory. It's not owned by them, but it's where they're resided at, mostly. And then once you pass through there, you should be heading into Flat Rock. It's an area that's, well, has yet to be settled. And once you get past there, you'll be heading straight into Ponyville. Here, I'll draw it out for you. With his magic, he envelops a pencil that was near him and began writing. There were two forms of writing tool, quill and ink and a pencil. The pencil was very, very rare to see. However, it didn't see much use. That was why it was so rarely talked about and very, very rarely seen. He began making out the layout as the pencil was enveloped in the glow. So, why are we heading out there? Oh, we're heading out there just for a few different reasons. And you'd like the name? Oh, well, you see, the reason we're heading out there is just for an adventure, to be honest with you. We're heading out there mainly because, out of adventure. We're just heading out there to have fun and see what's out there. Or, so I think. I'm not really the leader of the group. So, I really couldn't tell you if I wanted to. Sorry. That's alright. Well, I bid you good day. He nods and said, I bid you good day too, sir. Thank you for protecting and serving your community. He walks out. Now with the newly found map that he has acquired from the guard, he knows that the trip should be a little easier, now that they have a sensible direction to head in. Later that day, he went into a shop and purchased an entire map of Equestria. You may have been wondering, how did he even get the currency? Well, simple. He opened the door. The owner of the establishment looked up in surprise to see this beast walking in. Before he could get a word out, sputtering, he said, Good day, sir. I'm here to cause no problems. I am simply here to purchase a map. A map, you say? A map of what? Of Equestria, of course. I am only here to purchase the map. How much, what is the currency of this fine nation of yours? Bits. Is there any way we could bargain, my fair fellow? Well, what are you wishing to bargain? Well, my fair friend, I am wishing to bargain of... I have coins from which I have came from, but they are probably of no use. So... He began rummaging through his thing. Began rummaging through his bag. Eventually he pulled out something. He laid 2 gold bars on the table. God knows he had enough. 2 gold ingots, technically. Will this be enough, fine sir? His mouth dropped. Here's a sweet roll to go with it. I'm assuming that is enough. Anyway, I bid you good day, sir, and thank you very much for your time and patience. He had rolled up the map and walked out. And when he opened the map, this magic ability had absorbed into it. Now he had it into his head. The map, of course, disintegrated very softly. Now he had it pitch perfect in his head of the exact route he wanted laid out. He smiled. Apparently it was this thing that most people could do, but they must be taught so directly from the Dragonborn himself. That's another story for another time. As he began walking, he stretched his arm and eventually letting a pop occur. He looked around, feeling rather fond of his surroundings. Then he seen a local blacksmith nearby. He smiled to himself and approached it. He knocked on the side and said, Smith, would it be okay if I had used your forge? I will need it for A journey that I will be taking amongst my friends. Smith, not paying attention, looking at a book, said, "Sure." He smiled, saying, I thank you very kindly, my good sir." As he walked back, got everything he needed. He started the grindstone, sharpening his weapons to make them more efficient. After that was done, he began making sure his gear was in tip-top shape for the adventure. Next thing he would do is he headed into the market and began buying assortments of food. He bought herbs, spices, fruits, vegetables, and some meat. Even bought a few treats for the road. Then he went to equipment shop and bought rope, torches, for them, of course, just in case. His candlelight and his mage light could only do so much. Whilst in there, buying the assortment of goods that was needed, buying very simple amounts, he began buying rope, torches, and had even bought climbing gear in case. He had bought sleeping bags and some tents. He began making his way back till he saw a shop that made his curiosity pique. He entered with great haste. Immediately he smiled. As he approached, he said, "My good friend, you don't mind if I could buy some potions, do you?" The person that sat there was a mare. The mare stared at him in awe, said, sure." He bought an assortment of potions he knew he may or may not need for the trip. Once he had walked back, he went up and started packing their gear for them, as they were still asleep and they would need it for the long journey ahead, whilst Danyel would not. He had bought 2 maps of Ponyville. He forgot to mention that in his diary entry, or his journal entry. He laid it on the table and began marking the route for them, as they would not know where to go in case they had gotten split off, or he had died. He always assumed that he may die. Even though it wasn't the brightest thing, he knew he had to assume, because he never knew if tomorrow was his last day. Once he had marked down on the map, he'd smiled to himself. To think, he had a unicorn and a griffin with him. What next? Anyway, guys, that's the end of this chapter. Before anything else happens, I just want to ask you guys a question. So, if you guys want to see any other characters within this story, just let me know. It all depends if there's like a mass assortment of different suggestions for companions that they'll meet along their travels towards Ponyville. So yeah, anyway, thank you guys for subscribing to this channel. I know I don't normally say that a lot, but I just really need to thank you all because I'm at 142 subscribers, which is crazy. I started uploading on this channel about a month ago. Think about that. In a month, I've gotten 142 subscribers. That is insane, and I really want to thank all of you guys for that. Anyway, before I head out, I want to say thank you guys, and I will see you all in the next video.